You can get all your turtley needs at Entertainment Earth at the link in the description.
Kaiju, turtles, Dragon Ball, and more. It's Steven's Toy Reviews.
Hello, collectors. Steven here, and we're going to be taking a look at the third figure that I'm going to be taking a look at in Super 7's TMNT Ultimates Wave 4 that just recently hit the market. Today, we're going to be taking a look at their Jason Voorhees. What? Oh, Casey Jones. Yep. So, hockey mask wearing dude. We have a professional sports ball guy right here. And oh boy. So, right now on the market, this is going to be the only 6-7 inch figure for Mr. Jones here. And it's going to be rather accessible. Why? You can pretty much go ahead and click order, or for some instances, click pre-order because it may come back in stock. And yeah, it's accessible, and that's good. However, there's a little bit to talk about because we do have a little bit of a mixing of paint. We have some interesting results with accessories and some changes in engineering to the Super 7 human body for the TMNT stuff. And we got to hit the ground running. So let's take a look to see whether or not Casey Jones is going to be worth adding into your collection. Spoilers, you're going to want to watch until the end. We got some stuff to talk about. Rather conflicted here for sculpt and paint. Generally speaking, if you're going to be taking a look at this guy from, I don't know, maybe an arm's distance away, you can kind of tell it seems like there may be a buck that they're using for the male human figures like Shredder, maybe even going into the Foot Soldier release, but not quite, because if you take a closer look at Casey Jones here, you're going to notice that there are some details that are changed up. It definitely looks like the muscle mass for this guy is a little bigger compared to some of the other releases. And when it comes to the sculpt, I don't quite know what's going on. Maybe it's to emulate hair, but there are some cross hatchings on the arms. I'm guessing that's what it is. Now, in terms of paint, here's something interesting for the mask. Now, this may very well, I never had the figure in hand for the original Playmates release, which this is a tribute to. There is a cartoonish paint application to the mask. So I don't know if they're trying to clearly supplement what may not be easily accessible on the market, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, for where the main focal point of a figure may be, but it's not off-putting. It's just something that I did want to bring up. Now, taking a look at the rest of the figure, I do have to say that the paint application can be rather hit or miss. I have taken a look at some of the other ones, and it definitely seems to be rather somewhere in between. On my particular unit, it definitely looks like there was not quite the same level of care that was put into this one compared to some of the other figures that I do have, even from this wave in and of itself. It does look like in particular, it is noticeable, obviously, with macro photography here where you're able to see the finer details, but even just kind of at an arm's length away, even when I just have it up on the review table doing the accessory shots and the articulation, it looks like there's a little bit of what I can best describe as an oil stain on his torso. Even some of the finer details like the paint applications for the drawstrings on his pants, not necessarily as clean as it can be. Now, aside from that, realistically speaking, the paint looks, I would say, rather just fine with no real issues. In terms of sculpt, I personally don't see it as that much of a big issue, but some folks have said that he has skipped leg day. Now we're going to take a look at the articulation section, and that's going to talk about engineering a bit more, and I think that may be a part of kind of sort of what's going on. Generally speaking, in terms of sculpt and paint, I don't necessarily think we're hitting a home run here and knocking it out of the park, though some folks do think that from the waist up, there's a fantastic job here. Generally, though, for me, for what I'm seeing here, I think it's just kind of middle of the road and nothing really amazing, nothing really terrible. All right, so articulation time here from Mr. Jones, and interesting criticism to follow. What do I mean? Well, head is going to be on a ball joint, and he can look left and right. Can you look down? Yes, but because of the hair, and maybe the shallowness of the ball joint, you can't really move his head around too much aside from looking left and right. It is what it is. We do have this giant shoulder pad, so for his left arm, that's going to be about it for the range of movement forward and back. But for his right arm, you get rather solid movement, no issues there. He can T-pose with no issues, so that's good to see. We are going to have dedicated bicep swivels, which is great. And then we are going to have elbow hinge, Single hinge. I'm going to talk about that in a second. Now, with that single elbow hinge, we are actually going to have a little bit of a swivel as well. Not a super duper huge range of movement just because of the way that it is sculpted in the back. We can't get a full rotation around, but it is going to be another point of articulation. So this way, if you need it, aside from the bicep swivel, we do have it there. Now for his wrists, for this particular one fresh out of the box, he is going to have hinge movement that is up and down, if you will, like this. Not forward and back movement or in and out, if you will. The rest of the hands that he's going to come with, we'll take a look at that in the accessory section. Those wrist joints will have that movement, something to keep in mind. But they all peg in, so they are all going to have swivel movement, something to keep in mind. Cool beans. What else do we have? Well, normally for some of the human figures Super 7 have done in this lineup, they've just had swivel joints at the waist. For Casey here, yes, we do have that swivel movement. As you can see here, you can spin them around. But what's interesting is they went for a ball joint instead of just a straight swivel. So we can get him to lean back a bit more and to lean forward. This has caused some criticism with folks saying that there's too much of a lip here for his, well, sweatpants. I don't really see that as much of an issue. Some do. But I don't really think that that's a problem. But this is going to lead to a criticism that I think is going to be fair when we wrap up this section. Okay. Now, for the hips, he can kick forward about that far and back about that far just because he has a nice sculpted booty there. And then we are going to have hinges, so this way he can kick out to the side just like that. Right out of the box, the hip joints were rather tight, and I did need to apply some heat. Once I did, they started moving. We do have some swivels here for the hips, which are rather nice. Then for the knees, which needed the shock oil treatment. These were very tight. I thought these were just going to shear, which isn't very good. So single hinges like that. And then we do have swivels where they plug in, which is fine and dandy. Now for his ankles, okay, no toe hinges, but as you can see, he's got some big shoes. We do get forward and back movement along with just some slight tilts for ankle rocker movement, okay? So the legs, they're okay. Arms, they're all right. You know, I mean, he's going to be using like golf club, bats, hockey stick, and he's not super duper athletic. Now, what's the criticism here? Well, consistently, Super 7, all of the, talking points, all the people from Super 7 have said, they want to keep things aesthetically pleasing. And one of the issues is some of the articulation engineering that other companies have done, like this guy, double joints and so forth. They're not aesthetically pleasing and they kind of break up the sculpt. Well, here's two avenues that I want to take. First and foremost, the ball jointed waist. I like that. I think that's very good. And for moving forward with the engineering, it's very nice to see that we're seeing advancements. However, it's very clear, likewise as well, single hinge, we get that much movement. And likewise as well, single hinge, we get that much movement. Now, admittedly, this is an import. This is Super 7. This is Figma. This is Super 7. So maybe the comparison won't be as apt. But the point being is that we are at wave 4. And this is, realistically speaking, the only improvement in engineering to increase the range of movement that we have. And it's not really well received. I like that they're doing it. Good job not telling you to stop. But let's see a little bit more. Come on, you can do it. Come on, Brian, you can do it. I know you can. Anyway, for the articulation for Casey, generally speaking, it's rather serviceable. If you know how to pose your figures and you take, nice shots of your figures, you can get some neat poses out of them. You can do some great photography. But generally speaking, at this point in the game, you could step it up just a little bit more. I know you can do it. Time to talk about accessories, and I don't quite know what happened here. So he's going to come with an unpainted weapons rack that is going to be in the form of a hockey net. I'm going to talk about that in just a bit. We are going to get extra sets of hands, all of the ones that you are going to be seeing here. So we're going to be able to get sort of relaxed hands, sort of splayed. We're going to get an alternate set of weapon holding hands, and we're going to get fists, which, fan-friggin' fantastic. We're going to get the golf bag. We're going to get 3 hockey pucks. We're going to get a hockey stick. We're going to get the golf club, and we're going to get 3 baseball bats, 2 of them, which are battle damaged. So let's go ahead and take a look at that hockey net weapons rack. this just makes me want a nice fully formed painted hockey net for him. Why couldn't we get one? I would have loved to have gotten one. That would have been really, really cool to see here for this particular release. Okay, cool. So we've got that. Let's continue on. So let's take a close look at all of the different accessories. But first, nearly all the weapons were warped out of the box. Don't know why. Even the non-battle damaged ones. Cool. All right, so here are the up-close and personal shots. So we're going to take a look at the golf club first, which is rather cool because it'd be very easy just to have a mirror sculpt when we get down to the actual, club, the part that he's going to use to bash the foot soldier's head in, but it's going to be unique on both sides. Neato there. For the actual hockey stick, it is nice and it's kind of grimy. It's not just going to be white wrapping all over it. So nice to see there. We got a nice emulation of wood. And then when it comes to the actual baseball bats, we'll take a look at this when we get over to how he actually holds them. They are going to have their rather unique sculpts. The one that is going to be fully intact, it has a full-on grip and it has, the ability to actually stay in his hands, where the other ones, they don't really fit too well. Yeah, we'll take a look at that. And they are actually their own unique sculpts. It's not kind of like they had just a base and they just kind of changed up the sculpt a little bit. No. They're entirely different there. The 3 hockey pucks, they are all unique. So they have their different tapings on them, which they are mirrored on both sides. So I don't have to show you the other. They're going to be identical. Now, taking a look at the golf bag, it actually looks really good. We have some fantastic paint applications here, which are rather pinpoint. I really do like how this turned out. However, how do we get this on him? Some have just shown real easily. You can just slip this under the arm and slip it over his head, no problem. However, you will rip it. So I would advise don't do that. You can pop his head off with relative ease. It's not going to be a big issue. Use heat if you are scared and it doesn't really want to budge. And then you can just slip it on that way, nice and easy. And the bag does hold all of the weapons. Not necessarily too well, but it does do that. Now we're going to have a couple of pictures with him using the different weapons. And I have to say that with the articulation, you're going to have to fudge the angles just a little bit, but you're going to be able to do that. No problem. All right. So with that being said, accessory-wise, I really don't know what else he could come with. He's going to come with the alternate weapon holding hands, the sort of relaxed splayed hands, and the fists. He's going to come with an appropriate amount of weapons. I don't know why they're warped, and he's going to come with the unpainted weapons rack as a throwback and tribute to the original Playmates release. Hockey, I mean, he's got everything. The only thing I could say is maybe an unmasked head sculpt. That's going to be about it. If you need support stands, which may be of benefit to this release, I got videos to help you out along with effect parts. Now here's going to be a size comparison with the entirety of Wave 4, so this way you get a good idea of not only how they all look together if you wanted them up on your shelf, but also how they look with some other figures, including with turtle figures from another brand, where there's a gentleman's agreement. Overall, I do think that they do blend in well within their own line and kind of sort of depending on how you mix things up with some other companies. So buy now, skip, or wait for a deal. Generally speaking, I think the sculpt for this guy is rather good regarding, like I said, maybe the waist up for most folks and the waist down, some have said there's a lot to be desired. The paint application I do think could be tightened up a little bit, particularly for my unit. The articulation, again, it looks like they're beginning to experiment, but the one joint that they choose to sort of expand on has gotten a rather lukewarm response for those who like it, and the rest have just said, what are you doing, Super7? And it's clear that they want to expand. They can, and they can do more, and they can do better. So here's to hoping for the next human release, particularly the next male human release, they're going to be able to incorporate double hinge elbows. Accessories, good. Articulation, okay. Overall, not the best release in the lineup. I actually find this figure maybe to be tied with the not best. It's kind of tied with Mondo Gecko. Check his review out. Anyway, if you're looking for a 6-7 inch Casey Jones, I wouldn't necessarily say this is going to be the release for you, but he'll fit in just well enough. Well, collectors, that brings us to the end of the video today, and I just wanted to take a second to thank you so much for watching. Now, you've heard a lot from me. I'd like to hear a little bit from you. Drop in the comments down below whether or not you liked it, you hated it, or maybe you were somewhere in between. I also want to take an extra second here for a nice, humongous thank you to all the patrons for SDR over the last month who have really helped the channel grow into what it can be today. So to all of you, 2 big thumbs up. Thank you very much. And now the end card should be popping up, which will give you a few clickable links, like maybe to subscribe or head on over to my Patreon, or some short URLs like to my social media or to my Teespring store. There's also a video I hand selected for you, so if you want to watch another STR video, I hand selected some good content for you to watch, so definitely check out that video. Thank you again so much for watching, and I'll catch ya in the next video.